So can you talk a little bit again about when you first realized that something was going on?
Yes, Governor and Mrs. Bentley just had always had the sweetest relationship, like we've all said so many times, and just kind of stood as this beacon, as this powerful couple together. And when we started seeing a shift in his behavior was when we kind of started noticing different red flags. You know, when he quit doing all those sweet, loving things and saying those kind things to Mrs. Bentley, you just kind of realized dancing in the kitchen, or you know, just coming up behind her and telling her, "Oh, I love you," or making funny little jokes about, you know, their relationship through the years, or talking about how proud he was of her and their children. And all of a sudden, he quit doing that completely and didn't credit her for any of the wonderful things she was doing.
And this is sort of the couple you decided to back and to support and become part of that conversation. And so when this happened, what did you do? What did you say to Mrs. Bentley?
Well, I waited for a little while, just because before you say somebody's doing something wrong, you want to really know in your heart, and want to know something really is happening, because like I said, I idolized them and treasured them, and Mrs. Bentley was like a grandmother and, you know, mom figure to me. She was definitely my best friend in Montgomery. And so we watched and waited, and then when I was very confident that something was going on, I asked her if I could speak with her privately in her living room upstairs in the mansion. And we knew that we would have time, just the two of us, and so I went and sat in the living room, and we kind of discussed some things that had been going on and compared notes that both of us had noticed. And I said, "Miss Bentley, you know, I feel like he's having an affair," and we both broke into tears. And at that point, she said, "Okay, we can't tell anybody. Like, we need to really make sure. Please keep this a secret." And from that point on, it became Mrs. Bentley and me trying to protect the integrity of her marriage.
And you showed her essentially how to tape a conversation. How did that go?
At one point, Mrs. Bentley just said, "You know, no one's going to believe me. No one's going to believe us. You know, we've been on TV together, and how can I prove to myself and to Robert that I know?" And I was like, "You know, I don't know, Miss Bentley. You know, you hope that he just believes you and feels convicted that his wife of almost 50 years tells him that." And she decided that we needed to figure out a way to record it in some way. And so we talked about different methods and kind of laughed about it. And I said, "You know, this isn't a spy novel, Miss Bentley." And I told her that there was an app on her phone. I said, "We can use technology. There is a voice record app on your phone." And I taught her how to use it. And she decided her own time that would be best to have the opportunity to make that recording. And so once she was given the opportunity to do that, she came back to me and was like, "Okay, I think I have something, but Heather, I can't listen to it." She goes, "I can't listen to it." And at that time, she asked me to make sure the recording was taken off of her phone and put somewhere in a private place. And then she said, "I'll let you know when I'm ready." And so I did exactly as she asked me to do. I took it off of her phone, I put it on a CD, and I gave it back to her a couple of days later when she asked me for it. And she was like, "Now we have to be really careful about this, Heather." And I was like, "Oh, don't worry, it's off your phone, it's off my computer, like, this is the copy." And so she took it home to Tuscaloosa, and it was not too much longer after that she confronted the governor, and he didn't believe her. And then not too much longer after that, she shared it with one of her sons, and her son, as you would hope any son wouldn't want to believe that about his dad. And so Miss Bentley used that recording to share with him the truth about what was going on. And honestly, I thought that would kind of be the end of the recordings. It was never meant to be used for malice or embarrassment in any way. It was purely used so that we could, I guess, make him feel convicted and hope that he would repent and come back to his wonderful family.
But at some point, he found out about recordings existing.
Mrs. Bentley shared it with him.
Right, and so apparently he set out to find those or to send.
He was convinced that, and we can laugh about it now, he was convinced that I had bugged his office or bugged the mansion, and we would kind of giggle because Miss Bentley said he would search the recliner from time to time, just knowing that Heather's behind all of this. Heather's the one that's bugging my office, and asked one of our security officers to sweep the mansion on a regular basis once all the staff people were gone, and he and Miss Bentley would be taken off the mansion grounds, and they would bring in a team to sweep the entire mansion complex to make sure no bugs were found. And I just always thought it was a shame that he didn't give his wife more credit.
And did he have law enforcement come talk to you?
He did.
Stan Stabler, Spencer Collier, Ray Lewis?
At the time, Stan Stabler was on Mrs. Bentley and my side. He actually fed us information about some of the happenings. So I was very surprised when Stan came out in the news stating otherwise.
That day he held, did you watch the press conference?
I did.
Did you? And Stan Stabler stood beside him saying essentially none of this happened. What was going through your head then?
Well, I was sitting with another staff member who worked with me at the mansion, and we were just staring at each other in shock and disbelief. And she hit me in the arm a couple of times and was like, "Are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? This isn't true. He called me. He called you. He had meetings with us. He talked to Miss Bentley." And it was just disappointing. That's probably the best word to describe this whole situation. It's just disappointing. I had these grand plans of all this administration was going to be, and I'm sad it didn't turn out the way we had all hoped.
I skipped a little part. There was there's that part in there where in the testimony it's called the kitchen confrontation and those things. Were you ever scared for your own safety?
I wasn't, and I think I can attest that to my incredible family. I mean, you've talked in your articles about me being a Hannah, so needless to say, the Hannahs don't back down from much, but my mom is an incredibly strong woman, and I've seen my parents go through much worse and much more testing times than somebody telling me I couldn't get a job in the state of Alabama again. And so I think at that point I was so focused on protecting Mrs. Bentley and everything that we were doing. I was more concerned about how he was affecting her emotionally than anything related to me.
But you feel like he was trying to threaten you or intimidate you in some way?
I think he was trying to make sure everything that was going on didn't get out. I think that he thought that I was a really young girl, and if he made me scared that I wouldn't have much of a future, that maybe I would keep my mouth shut, and I guess he should have known I was more stubborn than that.
Well, what are you doing now?
I actually sell contact lenses for a global company, so I work with optometrists and ophthalmologists in the state of Alabama and help people see.
Are you still in contact with Mrs. Bentley?
I am. I had the opportunity to talk to Miss Bentley this weekend, and that was really rewarding because she and I survived this the first time together from start to finish before anybody else knew. And every time something happens, whether it's her getting a divorce or the recordings coming out, it's gut-wrenching. It's really hard to relive it, and I knew it was going to be hard for her to hear those things. I mean, this is her former husband of 50 years that we're talking about, and when you're hearing all these sordid details of this affair, because that's what the people want to hear. They don't necessarily care about the legal, illegal stuff. We want to know the gossip, and so to speak to her and hear her spirits were high, and right now she's focused on going on a mission trip. She goes, "I'm just going to be spreading the love of Jesus, so that's my goal right now." And just to hear her just be able to say that so boldly and confidently was just strength, really, for me.
As this all came to a head this week, today, Robert Bentley is likely to resign the office of governor.
I do.
Can you put it in perspective what this whole couple of years has been?
Not really. I don't know that I've fully processed it, honestly. I told you when I chose to work on the campaign, I wasn't a very political person. Honestly, I never had any plans to get into politics. I thought I was going to go into TV and radio or maybe sports in some way. And I came to work for them because I believed in who they were and what they stood for. And then as time unfolded, it turned not to be that way. But no matter what happens with the Bentley administration, and no matter what happens today or how it ends, I'm going to remember my time as working with Miss Bentley and know that we made a difference. We made a difference in the lives of foster kids in Alabama who have been adopted because of what she's done and what the wonderful people that work with the foster care system have done. And we hopefully shine some light in the lives of domestic violence victims, and for those victims that are still in their abusive situations, maybe now more than ever they'll be inspired to do something in their life. So I think my takeaway from all of this is it's sad, and I'm sad for Mrs. Bentley and just sad for the Bentley family, and I'm really sad for the governor. I'm praying for him even now, but I know that what I was able to do with Mrs. Bentley and her voice as First Lady, I know it made a difference no matter what, and that's what matters most to me.
Okay. Is there one last question? Is there
Okay.
anything you would do different over the last couple of years?
No, I don't think so. I stood beside Mrs. Bentley. I'll never forget the day she asked me to work for her. I was thrilled because we knew at that point he was going to be elected governor, but I didn't really want to work on the policy side. I wanted to work with her, and we were sitting in the car driving back. We were pulling into Tuscaloosa, about to cross by Jack Warner Parkway, and she said, you know, if we go to Montgomery, will you work with me? And she said, I need somebody to protect me and look out for me while we're in Montgomery, Heather. And I feel like I maintained that commitment to her, and I held her secret and held her close, and she will always be one of the people I admire and respect. And I hope she will be my friend for the rest of our lives. She's a wonderful person.